I think it is both a useful and important announcement today by PwC, but it is, I think, too late, and it is also not the end of the matter. I say that it's a useful and important announcement because PwC apologises. They acknowledge that they did not have respect for confidentiality. They acknowledge they had significant governance failings, and they acknowledge that there was a significant cultural failing in the tax practice, and leaders of that practice have not been held to account. But it is an announcement that is, I think, in my opinion, too late, because we've had so much information come out almost day by day as PwC endeavours damage control. But certainly it's not the end of the matter, because we know that there's further investigations and inquiries underway.
Now, as you said, PwC apologised for the tax scandal in its announcement, but it's also claiming that confidential information was not used to enable clients to pay less tax. So that seems to be contrary to the internal emails released by the Senate.
Yes, so we have this statement from PwC to that effect. My response to that is that it's an important statement, but it must be independently verified by someone or some group outside PwC. We understand entirely why PwC has made this statement. There is the potential for reputational harm to clients of PwC. PwC is working very hard to ring-fence damage control here, both to the firm itself, but also, very importantly, to the clients. But an important statement like that must be independently verified.
And what does this scandal mean for PwC's Australian and global business?
Well, I think that to date it's all been bad news. And I think it's been bad news because of the profound ethical and cultural failings within PwC and potentially illegal behaviour. I say potentially illegal behaviour. We don't know, because this matter has been referred by the Treasury to the Australian Federal Police. But the consequences are, of course, very significant for PwC of the misconduct that has occurred. I think we're on notice that the firm will lose business. And, of course, one can logically expect clients of the firm not wanting to be tarnished by association, in particular with the tax practice of PwC, but potentially even more broadly. So the consequences are indeed very, very negative and have yet to unfold fully, despite the announcement of today.
And are there too many conflicts of interest for the Big Four accounting firms? They do widespread auditing of government departments around the world. For instance, the AFP has around $20 million worth of contracts with PwC.
So conflicts of interest with our Big Four advisory firms have been an issue for several decades. A couple of decades ago, following global collapses of companies such as Enron in the US and HIH in Australia, the focus was on conflicts of interest in the auditing practice. And a number of rules were passed by the federal government. But things have moved on, and the firms have become incredibly large, incredibly complex, and very much embedded in not just the private sector, but in governments, both state and federal. So we clearly are on notice that there are conflicts of interest that must be much better dealt with, both within the firm and externally, but also cultural failings that must be addressed. It's very interesting that part of the announcement today is to so-called ring fence or quarantine the work that the government, that PwC does for the federal government. Now, understandably, they're saying that because this has all emanated from, if you like, confidential briefings from the Commonwealth Treasury. But what about the work that PwC does for the state governments worth substantial funding? So this concept of ring fencing to deal with conflicts, I suspect, hasn't gone far enough.
So what can governments, if anything, do to reduce the conflicts?
Well, there's going to be quite a few things, it seems to me. Obviously, there needs to be more assurance that PwC is in fact dealing with conflicts and cultural failings. We mustn't underestimate the significant cultural failings that have unfolded here. But also those who acquire services from PwC need to be better at understanding the conflicts themselves. But it can't really stop there, it seems to me. One of the big issues is a lack of talent within our state government. I mean, to some degree, important government departments have shed talented staff. There's probably a very strong and very compelling argument to build up capacity within key government departments so that they don't rely to the same degree on private advisory firms. But at the end of the day, undoubtedly, the announcement today is just the start of a better understanding of conflicts of interest and cultural and ethical failings, but very importantly, how we adequately deal with these.